Are you a fan of freedom, of democracy, of spreading justice to the galaxy? Well, you'll love today's topic. Arrowhead Games Studios' Helldivers 2, a game I recently got really into despite giving a criminally low score in my Thing of the Year awards. My name is Artie, and this is my Thing of the Month. Let's get into it. As usual, we'll start with the core concept. Helldivers 2 is, at its core, an extraction shooter where you'll play as, believe it or not, a Helldiver, a member of Super Earth's most well-respected military organization, and drop onto one of hundreds of planets, spreading righteous liberty with your big guns and even bigger explosions in order to complete a huge variety of missions to secure Super Earth's position in the galaxy. Throughout your many battles, you'll be fighting one of three factions. First up is the Terminids, huge, mean, obviously fascist bugs that tend to swarm you and your fellow Helldivers, becoming overwhelming if not dealt with quickly. Then you've got the Automatons, socialist robots with guns big enough to rival those of the Helldivers, who love to barrage you with bullets and other artillery. Finally, there's the new Illuminate, autocratic squids that can transform Super Earth's glorious citizens into zombie-like voteless, with a fighting style similar to a mix of both the Terminids and Automatons. Each of the factions is really unique, each with their own lore, tactics, strengths and weaknesses that you and your squad will need to adjust for before every Helldive. We'll talk about that a bit later though. Before that, let's look a little more into the actual gameplay. In terms of gunplay and stuff, Helldivers 2 is fairly run-of-the-mill. That is to say, you'll get a variety of pretty normal weapons to choose from at the start of the mission. Snipers, shotguns, machine guns, energy weapons, all that jazz. They're a lot of fun, but nothing too special. The cool stuff starts happening when you get your stratagems sorted. These are little beacon things that call down some kind of support from your super destroyer up in space, whether that be a new weapon, an orbital strike, or a really, really big explosion. Before each mission, you can choose 4 stratagems to take with you, and you'll usually need to try and adjust what you're bringing with you for the enemy you're about to face. If you're facing the Terminids, for example, you'll want something with a lot of crowd control, like a gas strike or 500 kilo bomb. But if you're against the much hardier Illuminate, you'll want stuff with the ability to deal much higher damage to big targets, like the orbital laser, as well as something like Napalm Strike for crowd control. Personally, I almost always bring a stalwart or heavy machine gun with me, as well as a jump pack, because, to be honest, it makes me feel like Boba Fett. A couple of my group's favourite stratagems though are the anti-tank emplacement, which you can hop in and use to shoot enormous anti-tank rounds at enemies, or friends, and the portable hell bomb, which is basically a nuke that you can strap to your back to go out with a bang. Helldivers 2 is an incredibly clippable game, but most of my clips revolve around either playing dodgeball with anti-tank rounds, or my friends kamikazeing with a portable hell bomb. Good times. Like I said, most of the gameplay does centre around blowing things up. Now, don't get me wrong, that is incredibly fun, but by far my favourite feature of Helldivers 2 is the live service mechanics. The game takes place in, of course, the Milky Way galaxy, with Super Earth at the centre and hundreds of other planets around it. Most of the time, a majority of these planets will be under the control of one of the 3 factions I mentioned earlier, and the only way to retake control for the glorious democratic nation of Super Earth is to go on as many Helldives as you can. Every time you complete a mission, your squad will have an impact, albeit a minuscule impact, on that planet's liberation. The more missions you complete, and the harder the difficulty of those missions, the more impact you and your team will have on retaking control of a planet. This adapts in real time to all of the Helldivers playing, and every so often you'll see thousands of Helldivers piling onto the same planet to ensure its liberation. The live service also allows for dynamic storytelling from the game devs, which is, again, another major highlight. There are so many really cool pieces of lore that have only happened because of the player base, and that's something I've only really seen Sea of Thieves do in recent years. One of the more notable examples of this is the previously automaton-controlled Malevelon Creek. When the game released, this planet was disproportionately difficult for some reason, resulting in the Battle of Malevelon Creek being one of the bloodiest battles in Helldivers history, with over 25 million players dead within 9 weeks. Truly a tragedy. Just recently, the Illuminate were laying into Super Earth and trying to take down as many megacities as they could, so almost all of the Helldivers were mobilizing to the home turf in its defense. Only a week ago, my friend and I were valiantly defending Port Mercy until its bitter end at the slimy hands of the Squids, with York Supreme falling just hours later, a truly tragic loss. I absolutely love how it always really feels like there's a live galactic war going on, and it's something that my friends and I enjoy keeping up on even outside of the game. During the battle for Super Earth, we were constantly monitoring the state of the last few cities, as well as the strength of the Illuminate fleet through companion websites. We're definitely not alone with that, and there are heaps of other Helldivers all working together to try and spread managed democracy across the galaxy. Which brings me to my next topic. The Helldivers 2 community is honestly something else. Obviously, there are a handful of toxic Helldivers here and there, but that's to be expected. For the most part, I've never seen a gaming community that's this big and this welcoming. Everyone is really committed to the game, and I love seeing everyone just fully roll with being a Helldiver for Super Earth. It is incredibly fun being able to go onto the Helldivers Discord server and see everyone frantically scrambling to plan the best way to resolve the next major order from High Command, and like I said, it's not something I've seen many other games really be able to pull off to this extent. If the game itself weren't already good enough, the community is definitely the neat little bow on top, and it helps that the developers are very nice to us with things like war bonds, Helldivers equivalent of battle passes, which are relatively easy to get without spending any money and don't have a time limit on them, meaning you're free to work through them at your own pace. Overall, Helldivers 2 is a ridiculously awesome game, with a brilliant concept, riveting gameplay, and an incredible community. If you're a fan of any other largely community-driven games like Sea of Thieves or Deep Rock Galactic, or if you enjoy games with similar tactical shooter gameplay, I'd definitely recommend checking it out. With that said though, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, all that jazz, and be sure to check out the website contentunavailable.net for the weekly Thing of the Week blog. Until then, I'll see you at some point in the future. Goodbye.